Hello everybody. In honor of it being Valentine's Day, I decided that I would give you my top 10 favorite couples from the TV show The Office. Let's go. Alright, starting off the list at number 10, Andy and Angela. So, this is a couple that isn't really that great in and of themselves. They're just, they're not really a great pair, but that's kind of what, makes them kind of funny and interesting, is that they are such a terrible pair together, and, that makes for some hilarious moments, also some weird moments. But really, I think the main draw to Andy and Angela as a couple is not really, their relationship, but the effect of their relationship on the Angela and Dwight relationship. Because, we get this kind of funny thing where Dwight and Angela are having an affair while Angela's engaged to Andy, and then that leads to them dueling and in the middle of season 5. So, like I said in my last video when I was ranking the Office seasons, that's one of the great moments of season 5 is their duel. I think that's a really hilarious moment. So that's why I really like them as a couple. Not really because I like them necessarily together, but I like the effect that their relationship has on the Dwight and Angela relationship. So that's why they're here on the list at number 10. In 9th place, we have Michael and Carol. So this is another couple that isn't really great in and of themselves. They're not, Carol's not really that interesting of a character. It's more kind of on the Michael side of things that makes it interesting, of just, Michael just being ridiculous and asking Carol to marry him at Diwali on their, I think it was like their 9th date. So, it's things like that make this relationship kind of funny and interesting. But I think, like the Andy and Angela one, it's also has an effect on another relationship, which is Michael and Jan. So that's another thing that I think makes this relationship kind of interesting, is that effect on the Michael and Jan relationship. And so there's not really much I can really say about them as a couple. It's just kind of an interesting thing that has its moments and has kind of an effect on the Michael and Jan relationship. So, yeah, that's really why, again, it's on this list at number 9. Then, at number 8, we have Jim and Karen. So, Jim and Karen are actually kind of the opposite of the previous two couples that I have on the list, because they should actually be higher on the list if it wasn't for another couple, Jim and Pam. And because Jim and Karen are a good couple. They are a good match. I think in a world, like last video I said, in a world where Pam didn't exist, Jim and Karen would be the perfect couple. But because we have Jim and Pam, and, we want Jim and Pam to end up together, you don't really, at no point do you really want to see Jim and Karen together, but they are a nice couple anyway, so it's kind of a weird thing where they're not a bad couple, but because you want Jim and Pam, you can't really like them as much. So that's kind of the weird conundrum that you have with this relationship, where, again, they're a good relationship, but you can't really like them because of Jim and Pam. So that's why they should be higher on the ranking, but, I can't really put them, higher because Jim and Pam. So that's why they're so far down the list at number 8, but they are a pretty good couple. They have their moments. Again, Jim and Pam, you can't really have them too high on the list. So with that said, let's go to number 7, Phyllis and Bob Vance, Vance Refrigeration. So this is another interesting one because we don't see a whole lot of this relationship. It's, because Bob Vance obviously doesn't work in the Dunder Mifflin office. He works in his own company, Bob Vance, Vance Refrigeration. So you don't see their relationship too much. You just kind of see them at their wedding and some other outside of the office events. So most of the stuff that we know about their relationship, we hear from Phyllis and the talking heads. That's kind of, I think, works for their relationship, because I think not I think not seeing their relationship as much as others kind of like leaves it kind of in mystery, and when we do, it's kind of a nice treat to see them, and it seems like it's kind of like hilarious, like just the things that Phyllis says about the relationship, like her trying to get guys to hit on her at a bar so Bob Vance's maturation could beat them up. Uh, so it's things like that kind of make their relationship interesting. Just hearing just Phyllis talk about it and just not seeing a lot of it. So yeah, I think that works for their relationship. Again, not seeing it a lot, and I think that's kind of what makes them a good couple and gets them on the list at number 7. Then at number 6, we have Andy and Aaron. So if we look at season 6 and 7 of their relationship, it's not bad. It's kind of actually interesting to see this kind of, trying to be another Jim and Pam, with the salesman trying to hit on the receptionist who has a boyfriend. I think in season 6 and 7 they do it well, and they kind of keep it interesting and they keep you engaged with it. But once you get into season 8 and 9, it just really falls apart quite literally in season 9. So I think that they had something kind of good going. I don't think it ever was like a relationship that you were really invested in, like not as much as like Jim and Pam or Michael and Holly or Dwight and Angela. Coincidentally, spoiler alert, top 3. But I think that they aren't a terrible relationship, and I kind of liked what they were trying to do with them, but in season 6 and 7. But once you again get to 8 and 9, it just really is just terrible. So that's kind of where I am on this relationship. I think it's kind of alright at the beginning, and it just kind of starts to fall apart towards the end. So I think it had some potential, and I think that's why it earned a place on the list here at number 6. Then at number 5, we have Ryan and Kelly. This relationship is a really weird one because the thing that makes it interesting is how bad they are together. Like, it's just a very toxic relationship with both of them. And so that's just, obviously if this was a real relationship in real life, you would never want this to happen. But on a TV show like The Office, it's a really hilarious scenario, just them being together, just the hilarious things that come with just the toxicity of it. So that's where this relationship is really good. I mean, you have in the finale, Ryan gives his baby an allergic reaction just so he can talk to Kelly. That just shows exactly everything you need to know about this relationship and just how terrible it is. And yeah, it's just a very toxic relationship, and that's really what makes it interesting and funny, and that's why I have it here on the list at number 5. And then at number 4, we have Michael and Jan. This, like Ryan and Kelly, the thing that makes it funny and interesting is the toxicity of it, of, how terrible Jan is to Michael. Dinner party. That episode is one of the best episodes of the entire series because of this weird relationship between Jan and Michael, and you see it, really more than you ever have before, just because, you're in their home, where before you've just been in the office, so you really get to see an inside look at their relationship and all just the weird, the weird things about it. So their relationship is interesting and funny because of this just awkwardness that they have together. So that's why they get a place on the list at number 4. But kicking off the top 3, we have Dwight and Angela. So when you think about the couple that, the show is really following, you're probably more inclined to say Jim and Pam, but in reality, it's Jim and Angela, isn't it? They're the relationship that is building throughout the entire series, has the most ups and downs, throughout the series, where it's really their story, because, really, just look at it. The finale is their wedding. So, it's really just their love story. Jim and Pam is a side, not really a side one, but when you really think about it, you want to say Jim and Pam is the focus of it, but it really is Dwight and Angela. That doesn't mean that they are the best, but it's the one that really The Office is following, and it makes sense because, I mean, they have just so many ups and downs where you're like, they're together, and then Dwight kills her cat, and then Angela's with Andy, and Dwight's with Isabel, and then they're together, and then they have a contract to have a child together, and then that falls through, and Angela gets together with a senator, and then Oscar's having an affair with a senator, and then Dwight is dating Esther, and he's about to get engaged to her, but then he decides to ask Angela to marry him, and then they get married at the final episode of the season. So they have a bumpy road to get together, and really their relationship is weird and strange and convoluted, but also heartwarming at the same time, which I think makes it really interesting. And I think another thing that makes it interesting is, most of the times when they're together, they're hiding the fact that they're together and going down to their meeting place separately. They're just an interesting couple that, again, has a bumpy road to get together, and when you really think about it, they really are the true couple that The Office is following. Then, at number 2, we have Michael and Holly. So this is basically Jim and Karen if you didn't have the whole Jim and Pam thing going on. Meaning that, with Jim and Karen, you have Karen's basically a female version of Jim, and with Michael and Holly, Holly is basically a female version of Michael. And so that's what makes this really interesting and funny, and you really know from the moment where you meet Holly that they're gonna get married eventually, which they do, and the perfect send-off for Michael's character. Full video about that up there. And yeah, they're just a really great couple. They have a bit of a classic Jim and Pam thing in season 7 when Holly's with AJ, and they're the opposite of Michael and Jan, where with Michael and Jan, it's hilarious because of how, terrible they are together, the toxicity. But with Michael and Holly, they work so well because they're perfect for each other. And like I said, for the whole time Michael and Holly are together, you want them to get married. You know that that's where it's leading. Whereas with Michael and Jan, at no point do you want them to get married. At no point are you like, they are a really good couple. Like, they're a funny couple, but yeah, they're like an interesting couple with their quirks and stuff, but you don't really want Michael to marry Jan. But with Michael and Holly, the whole time you want Michael to marry Holly, and that's why they are just such a great couple. And they come in at number 2. But coming in at number 1, of course, is Jim and Pam. I mean, how could you not put Jim and Pam at number 1 on a list like this? Like I said, most people would probably say that The Office is following Jim and Pam. Like, that's kind of the story that The Office is the story of Jim and Pam, even though it kind of is actually Dwight and Angela. But the fact that, a lot of people would say that it's Jim and Pam just shows how great of a couple they are. Like, they're the couple that from the very beginning you are invested in. Like, that's kind of the main draw to it at the beginning is, are Jim and Pam going to get together? Pam is with Roy and Jim has a crush on her. Like, are they going to end up together? Is Pam going to call off the wedding and get together with Jim? And, for the first 3 seasons, that's kind of what's keeping it, not really what's keeping it afloat, but, it's one of the major things that, you're following in the show is, when are Jim and Pam going to get together? Or are they going to get together? Oh man, Jim's with Karen now. What's going to happen? And finally, at the end of season 3, you get the amazing moment, one of my favorite moments of the entire series, where Jim finally asks out Pam, and for the rest of the series, they're together. Another thing interesting about this couple, about Jim and Pam, is that I think when you think about The Office, you kind of forget that Jim and Pam are together for most of the show. Like, they're together for the last 2/3 of the show. And I think when you think about it, you kind of remember it being, less than that. I mean, more than that. You imagine that they're not together for more of the show, that it takes longer, but they get together a third of the way into the show. And Jim and Pam, they really are the couple that you're interested in throughout the entire show, all the way from the pilot to the finale. And, throughout all their ups and downs, people dating other people, getting together, getting married, having kids, all of that. Even all the stuff in season 9, which is infamously known as a low point for their relationship, and their relationship is infamously known as a low point for season 9. Even there, the reason why that is not a great point in the series is because you're so invested in their relationship, and you don't want to see all this stuff happening to them. So, I think that they really are the best couple of the entire show. Again, the one that you're interested in for the entire series, and that is why they come in at number 1. So please comment below your ranking of the top 10 Office couples, and remember to like, subscribe, check out some of my other videos, and with that said, that's a wrap.